I'm Joel Oleson. Been working with SharePoint since the beginning. Started at Microsoft back in December of 2000, working on a little project called Tahoe and Office Web Server. In fact, they hired me to take what was under the desk of the product teams and to bring it into the data center at Microsoft. So I've been working on this stuff for quite a while. And I work at BA Insight, who's a search-focused company. And I do some consulting and stuff like that on the side. Also in the middle of a transition, but that's another story. What else do I want to say? I love to travel. Traveling Epic is my travel blog. Yeah, Epic Traveler. I only have 60 countries left on my quest to see every country in the world. So the agenda for today. We're going to warm things up a little bit. And then there's a lot of kind of education. There's a lot I'm just going to share with you guys. This slide deck I will be posting on SlideShare. Those of you who've ever seen any of my other decks on enterprise and mobile, this is basically a total overhaul. So much has happened in the last couple of years. There's very little, if anything, that is in my previous decks. I basically had to rehash all of it. A lot of what I'm going to spend time on is a demo that I'm going to be showing from my iPhone. And there's so much parity between Android and the iPhone. I did bring my Lumia 1020, so I've got a Windows device, and I will speak to Windows Mobile a little bit. There are some things to say, but what's interesting is how focused Microsoft has been on getting parity and beyond on the iOS as well as the Android platforms. And I'll even speak to peripheral stuff. I've got some stuff for you for Linux and OneDrive and all sorts of wild stuff. So hopefully this is going to be very broad and can be fairly cohesive and comprehensive. And then I want to every once in a while kind of help you understand where things are going and why Microsoft cares so much about the future. So the kind of the warm-up thing, I want you to kind of, I've got like 3 little cartoons just to kind of make you think about this space a little bit. And I think this is a lot of where where do people learn about phones? They learn about it in the consumer space. They're used to, I download an app, it works, life is so simple, everything's so great. You move to the enterprise space, and it's like, oh, well, we'll make an app. There's such a high level of expectation for what an app means for when somebody in the company is building an app and they're going to get it, that unfortunately, it's much more error prone. There's so much more challenges with it. Trying to get to enterprise systems. This space is a very tough space to be in. I'm not necessarily going to be representing the mobile management team in an enterprise. I'm definitely going to be very much focused on how do we solve this for SharePoint and kind of what is that strategic perspective on collaboration in the enterprise across things like OneNote, OneDrive, and Office with Excel, Word, PowerPoint, kind of those productivity solutions, and how Microsoft looks at that slice of the world with Office 365 versus on-premise. And I will allow you to interrupt me. I have a ton to cover, but I will allow you to interrupt me if you have like, give me the next thing beyond that. Like in my space, we have a bunch of Macs. What about Macs? I've got some stuff on Macintosh as well in here. So hopefully I've got what you guys are looking for. And there was actually another presentation here at this conference on the BYOD, Bring Your Own Device. He called it Bring Your Own Disaster. Anybody go to that session? Okay. It may be after this one, I don't know. Hopefully it's not the same time. The other challenge is, you know, with mobile, reality check, people carry their mobile phones. They use their tablets. They want to use them at home and at work to be able to keep on with what's going. They're out at lunch, they need to check an email, and that email says something about a document or has an attachment. That person's ability to work with that business data is critical. And those scenarios are very key. And whether that document ends up in Dropbox or OneDrive may have a lot to do with how well your enterprise is prepared. So this is kind of our agenda for today. It's very much, let me give you big picture, Office 365, cloud, the mobile devices, wearables kind of stuff. I'm not going to focus so much on that space, but I want you to know that that's the next wave, right? There's going to be, now I can touch my watch and get my messages and my email and my notifications, and it's part of my life. Will we be seeing somebody doing something on their watch very soon? Guess what? I think it was just yesterday, one of the updates on one of the apps says something about the Apple Watch, one of the Office apps. I think it's the OneDrive one. I think we'll probably even come across it. And then I do the responsive thing. I've got a couple slides on responsive. There are full-on sessions at this conference on responsive. We're not going to be talking about design. It's more, I want people to be aware that out of the box, SharePoint is not responsive. Delve is. It has some responsive properties to it, and we'll speak to some of that. But it's also something, there's some community work that's been done here. So, a couple things here. What's happening in the world? Let's kind of start very, very high level. 2 billion smartphones in 2016 in the world. That's huge. A quarter of the world's population will have a smartphone by 2016, with estimates of a third of the world's population. That's pretty wild. The cloud, 76% of customers already have a cloud strategy. Something a little bit closer to home, number of smartphone users in the UK, forecast to gradually rise from 36 million to 46 million in the next 4 years. Definitely continues on the rise. So we're not at saturation yet, even despite the subscription numbers. It's like there's so many devices out there now. Mobile and cloud, it really is two peas in a pod. And I want you to kind of understand why I do see these things quite symbiotic. Cloud and mobile, both significant tech trends on their own, but they create the symbiotic pair that make the sum greater than its parts. And this next slide kind of speaks to that. Two significant benefits of using cloud storage with a mobile device. First, you can store and access more data than your mobile device is capable of holding. Makes sense. Second, in the event that your mobile device is lost or stolen, that data is safe and accessible. One of the major features you'll actually notice that Microsoft doesn't speak to, OneDrive, the app, used to be about taking things offline. The new version doesn't even have an offline feature. Interesting, huh? The new feature is your business and your personal in the same app. All right, so now we look at smartphone usage, and we look at this world and we say, what are they doing? You know, there is a lot of kind of key scenarios, and I don't want to focus a lot here, but understanding people are doing real things here. Information about their health, doing online banking, looking up real estate listings and things like that, looking up information about their job or career, taking a class to get educational content. Those are some real scenarios. This isn't just I'm looking at my email and I'm calling people. It's becoming more and more and more embedded in how people use it. And what's interesting, if you look at all adults, that's this picture here, all adults, 64% own a smartphone. And then we start looking at these other kind of weird overlaps. We start looking at this Venn diagram. We say 15% have options for online access other than a cell phone, which basically these guys who don't have this other piece, which is no broadband. And so there are some people who their only access to online when they're not at work is on their mobile device. So that's kind of an interesting audience. And then there's those that have limited options for Wi-Fi and so on. But it's interesting when you start looking at the rest of the world from a business perspective of people that their only access to the internet may be through a smartphone or a smart device. Now, again, kind of focusing on the UK, and we're using them as an example. I had some European stats, just kind of looking at the whole thing. And I thought, well, let me just look at one country, just to kind of break it down. It kind of represents a good portion of this audience. Let's look at year over year. We see that desktops have actually reduced by 12% from a traffic perspective from desktops and laptops. The share of web from a mobile phone, share of page views from a mobile phone, is up to 27% of all page views. Year over year, up 18%. Huge, huge. I mean, that's the disruption we're talking about here. Then we look at tablets, 31% year over year. Tablets are definitely on the rise. Now, this whole other scenario of, oh, I've got my PlayStation or my Xbox or these other kind of systems that I can use. I can even browse with my TV kind of scenario. Other devices is increased 32%. People are going to be browsing from their fridges or whatever, you know. It's these other scenarios of the surface that is your TV. You know, if you've seen the new Windows 10 videos, you see that there's some very interesting ways that we may be interacting with the web, especially the HoloLens scenarios of who knows what those scenarios are going to look like. Now, kind of taking another slice, we look at this and we say total number of internet users in the UK, 57 million. And then we look at that total number of active mobile internet users as 36.9 million. With mobile internet users as a percentage, 58%. It's a big deal. People do have phones. It's all kind of, this is probably an old hat for a lot of you guys. Not necessarily surprising at all. How many screens are in your house? It wasn't that many years ago that it was, there's the TV. It wasn't smart. It was dumb. There's my laptop from work. Yeah, I've had a laptop for a long time. And then whatever our home machine was. You know, it used to be a tower, and now it's 5 laptops. You know, everybody wants. And then as well, maybe being a good father, I like my kids to read, and instead of buying bunches of books that sit on shelves, the kids have Kindles, and they've got their smartphones, and kind of what's happening in reality is the proliferation of screens in the household. I forget what the British statistics were on number of 4-screen households, but I'm sure that's just continued to explode as device prices have just continued to go down. And mobile has surpassed desktop from a percentage of the time we spend consuming media. And it depends on which country you're in as to whether mobile traffic is higher than desktop traffic. I think that we're still desktop in most of the Western world. But it's interesting to see how mobile has continued to gain and gain with when you combine tablet and mobile phones. Now, I want to turn things now a little bit more towards SharePoint and start talking about the SharePoint aspects to this. This was a survey. This is old, and I do want to point out this is old, and especially in the mobile years of things. Back in August of 2012, Forrester actually made a statement that SharePoint doesn't know what it's doing as it relates to mobile, and that Microsoft really hasn't responded. I'd love to be able to show you the before chart and the today chart. I've got the today chart, but I forgot to kind of show you just how much the world has changed. It's changed in huge, huge ways. I remember it wasn't even 2 years ago, we were sitting around a table saying, this idea of OneDrive, you know, SkyDrive, now OneDrive, is it really OneDrive? Can we really, you know, what about the mobile, the Macintosh users? What about the Android? And, oh, Dropbox has done such a much better job of being able to get across these platforms. How are we ever going to compete? Well, this last year, it's amazing. Bam, 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 bam. Microsoft just releasing and updating. I mean, the mobile apps that are out there now, they're not even the ones that were there before. We're on version 2, version 3, full-on versions of the Office Mobile. If you need more justification, take these things back to your business. Mobile has major ROI from a business perspective. If you're needing to understand why do we care about mobile, why should we spend any money in this space, It's about responsiveness. It's about decision making. It's faster issue resolution. It's increased productivity. People can spend time when they're sitting there waiting for the doctor. They could be watching a YouTube video, or if they've got email, they can actually work on their email. And if they get the attachments or the links to the SharePoint or whatever, they can actually fulfill those things from a workflow perspective. And that perspective has been getting better and better and much smoother from a perspective of working with it. So now let's dig in. What's interesting is prior to SharePoint 2013, and how many people do we have that are not yet using SharePoint 2013? Raise your hand. Okay, so that was about 30%. And I want to just see the other side of it. How many people are on 2013 already? Okay, that does equal out. I think that was 70%. So guess what? Prior to 2013, this is what mobile looks like, this guy. In SharePoint, if you're just hitting SharePoint, it looks like that. It's this kind of ugly text view. This contemporary view is what Microsoft built for SharePoint 2013. I think they wasted their time. And I'll tell you why. They should not have spent any time on building a mobile view because people have smartphones. They want to actually see this. And what this should have been was Twitter Bootstrap, should have been a responsive SharePoint site. Invest this money here and give us some really good UI to work with. Instead, we can't blame Microsoft because they actually designed this back in 2010, 2011. So we judge Microsoft based on today, but in reality, they were designing the whole idea of we don't know what devices are going to be, but we know we want it to work on everything. So if a browser can support HTML5, it gets this. But if it can't support HTML5, it gets this. Of our modern browsers, Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, any of those, do any of them not support HTML5? They all support HTML5 on every device. And I'm talking all the smartphones, your Androids, your iOS. You know, you'd have to go find some old Symbian device or whatever to be able to say, oh, it couldn't hit this, so we needed to fall back to the old contemporary view, or the classic view. There's this thing in site settings where you can flip between this rich view, the desktop view as it's called, and the contemporary view. I don't plan to spend much time telling you about this stuff because it doesn't matter. Most people who want to do the right thing for mobile are going to focus on this. How can we make our site work when people browse to it, they actually have a good experience? Now, Microsoft, from a development perspective, got any devs in the room? They put all this work around device channels, and let's detect the device, and let's do the right thing based on what the device can handle. For the last 3 years, I've been telling people, don't waste your time with all that work they did. Just focus on responsive. Focus on the work. Let's stand on top of the shoulders of the people who is the future. Invest in responsive web UI, in the responsive web design, especially for your home page. Especially for your search page, okay? Any of those main landing pages, your content management sites, those are the ones you care to make responsive. Don't worry about your lists and your team sites and junk like that. Now, if you do want to, there's some community work there that you can take advantage of, which I'll give you links later on. I talked about that ability that you can switch between PC view and mobile view. It's just simply in the gear. If you're browsing to it, mobile in this full screen view, we're looking at an iPhone, you just simply hit the gear and choose mobile view, and it'll take you to that richer view. Basically slow connections, things like that. In reality, users don't do this. That hardly ever at all. They're basically, if they're going to try and get it, they're going to hit it through the mobile view. If they can't get it, they're going to use the mobile apps. Why not open up Word, Excel, PowerPoint OneDrive. OneDrive is how they're going to navigate to it, or they'll basically set they'll put it where they need to be able to pull it offline, and actually just be able to work with it. The best page you should be aware of, office.microsoft.com/mobile. This is great. This is your ability to say Windows Phone, iPhone, Android, what apps are available, links to apps in the App Store, so you can really get your head around what is Microsoft doing, and are my devices supported. And it really starts there. All right, so this is some homework. This is some stuff that of my time I spent on this deck, I spent half of it just on this chart and the next chart. Just validating, is the app there? Has it been released? All these things. Now, I mentioned earlier on, Microsoft has been doing so much to try and make mobile work on these devices. So when we just kind of walk across this, across the top we have the devices, and down the side we have what Microsoft's answers are from an app perspective. We have OneNote, we have OneDrive, and OneDrive itself really is a new beast. There's a new one, you know. The one that is the OneDrive that allows you to connect to both your personal and to your business. And you can actually have multiples. So you have multiple Office 365 sites. You can connect to those. And then there's Office Web Apps. What's Office Web Apps? It's that ability to basically access documents through the browser. If you're using that, hey, I'm browsing to the site and I'm clicking on things, when you hit a document, it's going to load it up in Office Web Apps. And we'll talk more about that, but it's basically from a licensing perspective, it's free for read, but it's something you have to enable. It requires even a server. So it's something you have to plan for when you're talking about deployment. It requires user licenses to do write access to Office Web Apps. Let me just kind of point out a couple things. Mac, yeah, Office 2016 preview this month just launched. So people who have Macs can download for Yosemite, they can download Office 2016, which includes the new OneNote. OneNote wasn't previously released for Mac. When was the last time they touched Macs? 2011 was the last release of Office for Mac. So it's exciting for the Mac people to have a new version of Office. When will it release? They say later in the year. I think it's probably actually going to now be in 2016. But that's kind of what they've said about SharePoint. SharePoint and Office usually line up, so expect 2016, I would say. Android tablet, it released this month. Brand new release. Office, we're talking about Excel, PowerPoint, and Word, now released on Android tablet, as well as OneDrive for Business. I'm going to jump into the demo, and then we'll dig into this a little bit further. And I know there's probably some of you kind of just trying to soak this up through it's coming at you like a fire hose, trying to fit a lot into this one session. Okay, so what you're looking at is, this is an iPhone 6. And these are basically things that I've just downloaded from the App Store. And these are the free versions. I've just installed them. I haven't done anything to buy them. I just downloaded them. As an example, if I click on Excel, I just loaded this. You can kind of tell. Hey, look, familiar stuff. And the fact that you can do formulas. Cool. Activating. What's happening here? It's free, right? This is the free version. I just downloaded this. I have not logged in or anything. So what it has here is this upgrade now. Upgrade now is basically saying log into Office 365. Interesting, huh? So what I'm saying right now is if you're an on-premise customer, this is good news. Before, it actually required you to log in to even use any of these mobile apps. So this is new information. It's actually new apps The fact that there's this upgrade means they've actually done additional work here. And notice as well, this isn't just view. Create and edit. All right, create and edit. And I am looking at this horizontally. I can flip it back the other way. In version 1.8, we can now create and edit comments and worksheets. Cool. Look at this. Those of you who've used the previous version, it was really Cracker Jacks. It was, don't try and do anything with it. You know, great for viewing, but you're not going to be creating spreadsheets. You're not going to be editing spreadsheets. Yes, there was amazing formula thing that was in there that who knows why they invested so much time on formulas and all those amazing calculations you could do. But wow, a home loan mortgage calculator, college course manager, they expected we're really going to use this stuff. Timesheet, look at all these things, invoices and trip planners, workout log. Wow, all right. Let's check out this workout log. Not bad. There's a lot here. I don't have a lot of time for this demo, but I do want to kind of just show you the gist of it. Look at the richness of what's in Excel, you know? There's a lot here. Look at this formula. I don't even do this on the desktop, you know? That's pretty awesome. And I can click the little pencil thing, and when I do that, I get all of the options here. Look at that. Bam. Lots of cool stuff here. As well, if I want to change up the formula, I can just simply click in. When I was talking about they have a lot of formula junk, look at this. Sum, average, count. Okay, this is going to keep going and going and going and going. We're still on the letter C, D. There's a ton you can do here. I think we're talking parity from a function and calculation perspective. That means a lot, I think.
Did you say you needed Office 365 for this to work?
No. What you are seeing right now is in the free version.
Right.
Free. Grab it right now on Android, on iOS, your iPad, your iPhone. Not on Windows Phone yet. Sorry, guys. Well, that's another story. The preview will be coming out with Windows Phone 10 for the new. This isn't Office Hub. You know, this is way beyond where we were with Office Hub. In fact, I think the previous version was better than Office Hub. So I think we're 2 generations ahead of where Office Hub was from Windows Phone perspective. All right, so that was Excel. Here's Word. And I think that I have opened this one before. I wanted to make sure they at least worked. And you can see it's actually connecting to Office 365 for me because it wants to be smart. And what you can't see there, also, you'll notice there's Account, where you can manage all your accounts, your personal OneDrive, your Dropbox. What? Yeah. Google Drive. They've been adding more and more things in there because they really want people to take advantage of Office. We can create new documents. We can open existing ones. Why is this taking so long? It's because of the Wi-Fi. It's not the mobile. I'm going to switch Wi-Fi just real quick. Oh, that is QE2 guest. Let me try this one. Maybe that one will work a little bit faster, hopefully. Okay. All right, so it loaded. And what we can see is what's nice here in this app, it's not about, let me go browse the entire tree structure of SharePoint. What it's doing is it's trying to say, we know what you've been working on, and we're going to put that in front of you. So recently, you've been working on these things. Sorry for the fact that it says resume. I did change jobs. It is a little bit personal. This is real stuff. Yeah. Okay, so I click open. Okay, I can open right from my phone, whatever's on my device. If it's an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device, if it's got storage on that device, you can open it from there. I'm connected to my OneDrive. I can add a place. So you can see what has already been added to this particular OS. You will see different things on different devices. And when I mentioned the fact that Google Drive was on there, obviously that one's not on this one per se yet. But look at this, SharePoint site URL. So even your on-prem stuff, we have paid for this app. This is the upgraded one. So let me show you, okay, so we can add a place, right? And we can do iCloud.
The SharePoint URL comes up in the free one as well, John.
Does it? Thank you. Appreciate that. That's great. Okay. Oh, yeah. So I have not upgraded this one. That was my OneDrive that you were seeing all that resume junk on. Of course. All right. If I click upgrade, what it's going to do is it's going to ultimately go out to the service to log into Office 365. But it also actually tells us what the services are and how much they cost. So you can do the home and family plan, so it's going to basically encourage you to go get Office. With an Office license for a user, one of the common ones is you could get 5 devices. Here we go. This is what I wanted you to see. If you sign up for Office 365 Personal, it's $6.99 a month with the first month free. You get 1 PC or Mac, 1 tablet, and 1 smartphone. If you do Home, 5 PCs, plus 5 tablets, plus 5 smartphones. Talk about the 15-screen household, right? $9.99 a month. Let's get you signed up for that. Unlock extra features on your iPad. And you get 1 terabyte of storage, by the way. Doesn't even offer you anything from a perspective here. That's kind of cool, right? We don't have to worry about, oh, it's only 100 gigs and I'm going to have to pay so much to upgrade these things. No, we're going to start with 1 terabyte and we're going to give it to you for 15 devices if you sign up for Home. Pretty cool.
If you didn't want to use Office 365 and just want to use it with your SharePoint in the office, you still have to have an Office 365 account or make your work email an Office 365 account.
Basically, you need to unlock this. And the way you unlock it is having a Office 365 subscription or a personal subscription. To upgrade it. Now, what is upgrade? Check this out. What is upgrade? Author, customize, and present like a pro. Here's all the features of Word once you've signed up for Office 365. So these are additional things that light up in the app. We've got a bunch of things in Excel, or a few things in Excel. The Excel team went beyond the Call of Duty. And PowerPoint. So basically, you can see right in any of the app, all 3 of these are exactly the same in any of the 3 apps. The 3 being Excel, Word, PowerPoint. OneNote is totally different kind of perspective. There is no upgrade from the OneNote. It's basically OneNote is OneNote. All right. We also want to see PowerPoint's really pretty slick too. I used to look at these things and say, great for viewing, don't expect it to get any really productivity stuff done. I mentioned there was an Apple Watch feature. I'm glad we found it. Check that out. PowerPoint remote for your Apple Watch. Whoa, what? Microsoft cares about the Apple Watch and is building Office features already? I mean, that's awesome. Present, I'm going to do that. Next time I do this session, I'm going to have in fact, my Apple Watch is coming in June. I'm one of those guys, so it's coming. I told my wife I needed an Apple Watch for work. She didn't believe me, but I got it anyway. So check this out. Here we have, this was a PowerPoint that I had actually started. You can see what's kind of cool is it actually saved the state. So you can see I started a PowerPoint. In fact, I was kind of debating, do I actually build this PowerPoint from my mobile? And I was like, nah. No, it's cool, but There's a certain level where there is a sacrifice for productivity, and I think that would have been. But here we can see there's a ton of features, and what I'm saying is these are worth checking out. These are rich. There is so much here, even in the free versions. Go get them. There's no reason not to get these on whatever device you have. Now, I'm going to switch back just for a second to to here and give you this next slide. This is the slide I think that Microsoft would like you to see. Every box checked. There's some stuff that's in preview, but guess what? It's all there. Then there's guys like me that say, well, everything? All right, so I found a few boxes that they haven't checked. If you go find Linux, you'll see that OneDrive for Business does not exist for Linux. That box actually should not be checked. The OneDrive for Kindle. No, it is there. That is there, yeah. You can't find Excel, Word, and PowerPoint on your Kindle. So those of you who want to do some validation, I brought my Kindle as well. I don't have anything to project from my Kindle to show you it, but basically if you search for Office, it's a bunch of third-party junk. What you can do is this thing called Excel Online, Word Online, PowerPoint Online, and there's even a OneDrive Online. Basically, it's browser-based versions of these things. Free. It's wild. You basically log into your personal account. There is no kind of for business perspective here, but this is basically on your machine. All those Chrome users they wanted to get, I could add a Chrome column, and because of these, it really gives you that experience. There's a Chrome app for Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and OneDrive. It's wild. There's actually a blog post from a Linux user who he created a bunch of icons that basically point to Excel, Word, PowerPoint on his desktop. So there's like a little project you can download. And so it looks like, when you click on it, it opens up Word in the browser. It opens Excel, it's PowerPoint. So it kind of almost fills those boxes in. I don't think Microsoft is necessarily too interested in filling in this column. You don't really hear them talking about Linux as a desktop. The Kindle one, again, I haven't really heard them talk about Kindle specifically. Primarily, they've really focused on Android tablet, and I think that it's more Kindle will decide what it wants to let into its store. So it may be just a matter of time, and not even Microsoft, that Android for tablet all of a sudden lets those things pop through into their store. One other thing down here, there's actually an open source project called OneDrive D that is a project that basically sets up kind of the OneDrive for business. So setting up a drive and synchronizing it. It's a community project. There was even activity on it within the last 2 weeks. So I think there's 98 people following that project, something like a dozen developers working on, not Microsoft developers, people in the community filling in some of these other boxes that they think is cool. What about Macs? We talked a little bit about this. Requires Yosemite. That's probably one thing to note if you're a Mac person. You can download these previews right now. OneDrive, it really has changed. You'll notice on the phone, did you notice there was actually 2 icons for OneDrive? What happens if you go to the old one, which is called OneDrive for Business, ironically. If you go to the OneDrive for Business app, it says, go download the other one. So it's already kind of deprecating itself. There is a small little link that you can click on to use the old one, and the old one was the thing that actually provided the offline access. The new one doesn't seem to do anything about it, and we can look at that if we've got time. Here's the Google Play Store, Microsoft Word for tablet. 13,000 plus 4-star. When I was looking at the Chrome store for those online apps, they've been downloaded over 1 million times. The amount of coverage these apps are actually getting, and really rated really high. In the app iOS store for the phone and for iPad, These are 4 and 5 star, you know, between 4 and 5 star, all of those apps. Where before, the first release, 2 to 3 stars, mostly 2s. They've gotten a lot better. Here's that GitHub I mentioned, the OneDrive D thing, for your reference. Now, I mentioned that there's these browser-based apps. This is a challenge to you in the audience who have your mobile devices out. Go to office.live.com/start/Word, Excel, or PowerPoint.aspx. And it should, I've actually run it on my Kindle, I've run it on my iPhone, as well as in Firefox, and I've run it in Safari as well. I'm not saying I've built PowerPoints to complicated level or Excels to complicated level, but it's pretty amazing. Anybody who tries it who wants to report back, yeah, we already have a thumbs up on a what kind of device?
It's a Windows phone.
Okay.
So you get the desktop view of it.
Very cool. And you see, you can already see your files on your OneDrive, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you're going to log in with your equivalent of OneDrive account. Pretty slick. So kind of on the downside of things, kind of wrapping things up. But I want to, there's a lot of kind of tried to throw at you. There are some features, as amazing as I've made these sound, I want to give you some caveats. Search, I haven't said anything about search. So search is something that is not necessarily in many of these apps. So this is something that if you are looking for search across my documents that are in SharePoint, not a lot of them provide search-enabled features. Another one is the fact that offline, Microsoft, I think, has kind of backed away from that space of trying to be liable for, we don't want to be the guy who took the files offline. There's some third-party providers in the SharePoint space. In fact, there's a lot of mobile providers. And if you want to pull me aside later and ask me who I'm talking about, there's one at least, there's many actually, that provide encrypted storage. It's kind of like a locker kind of scenario where it's a managed space on the phone. But even in the release, we're gonna see a video real quick of Microsoft's Office 365 mobile device management features. They're gonna speak to a little bit of this, about how it's gonna try and wipe out just the portion it cares about. But that's something you need to be aware of and be cautious about. How do I get sync? There is no sync in any of these things. Even the old one didn't provide sync. It was more, you can take things offline. You can save things now still. OneDrive for Business doesn't store files in encrypted location by default. Publishing SharePoint for mobile is still a pain for on-prem. That's definitely, from a strategic perspective, something I haven't talked a lot about, but I do want to harp on. The forefront products, you know, I want to publish my SharePoint to the web and be able to provide good online access. A lot of these apps have been designed for Office 365 access. And like we have seen, you can create a SharePoint location, but the company needs to set it up right. You know, depending on your authentication schema, it may not work. In fact, it may be a higher percentage than you think won't work because of whatever you're doing for authentication. Any kind of two-factor authentication, as an example, it's Microsoft's prompt they're putting up. They know what Office 365 is going to throw it out at it. They know what a published SharePoint through a forefront machine is going to throw at it. But what about somebody who's doing something with federation? Maybe, maybe not. So there's definitely some stuff you got to try. So here's the video I want to show you. And I've just pre-cached this up in a browser.
Business needs are constantly changing, and with that comes more data and more devices. Managing these devices can be a hassle, but with built-in mobile device management for Office 365, you can focus on the things that really matter when it comes to managing your business. And it's right here, built directly into your Office experiences. Built-in mobile device management for Office 365 provides 3 key benefits. First is conditional access, allowing you to set up certain criteria for the device to be compliant before using it to access corporate data. This includes enrolling devices before accessing Office 365 data through productivity applications. Policies are applied at the user level, so the policies can be applied on whatever devices the users work on. You can also target policies to different groups of users. Second is device management, providing a wide range of administration options to manage security policies, such as enforcing device-level PIN lock and jailbreak detection on devices to help prevent unauthorized users from accessing corporate email and data when a device is lost or stolen. You can also gain critical insights on mobile device data security through built-in compliance reporting. Third is selective wipe. This is especially handy in bring-your-own-device scenarios or when an employee is leaving the company. You can easily remove Office 365 company data from the device while leaving personal data in place. While these built-in mobile device management capabilities are a great way to protect Office 365 data, some businesses will need a more comprehensive solution. With Microsoft Intune, organizations can take advantage of additional device management capabilities, as well as manage applications and PCs to help protect all corporate data, Office 365, and more. With built-in mobile device management for Office 365 and Microsoft Intune, you have the flexibility to choose the solution that best meets your business needs.
Good stuff. Let me flip back to the device for one more second. All right, so I'll just show you real quickly. OneDrive for Business, you load that one up. Switch to the new OneDrive app. So that's not the one, okay? But you notice the tiny little link in the bottom, continue the old app. Or you can go to the new app, which what it'll do is it'll open up in the App Store, which has 95 reviews at 4 stars. Pretty cool. I click open. And I tossed a few files up here. This is a newly provisioned Office 365 client, so you actually are looking at Office 365 here. But what I can do is you'll notice I have multiple accounts that I'm managing here on OneDrive. It doesn't make sense for OneDrive to be managing Dropbox. No, this is about OneDrive, not the other drives. So I can access my personal or my shared stuff. As an example, there's that new resume. Not that I would care that you guys read this or not. That's bizarre. Okay, there it is. What? All right, so as an example, here's loading up Word. So I'm clicking on a Word document. This is the part that you guys should be aware of. Click on a Word document. Oh, it opens up. It's going to do it. It'll open up in Word. So basically, what will happen is these apps actually work with each other. That's kind of the thing here, is if you've got an attachment that's coming out of your Outlook app, it'll open it up it'll ask you, which one do you want it to open up in Word? You know, the Word app. So they kind of work with each other. What it's saying here is I need to upgrade because I just tried to open it up from Office 365. It wants to connect the service, which we don't have time to do here. So that one we can delete. The new OneDrive is the one we care about, which it took us to. We were just looking at. And we also have, this is huge, this Outlook app. You guys aware of this one? This Outlook app is actually an acquisition. Very, very hot app. They just rebranded, I forget who it was, but they just rebranded it as Outlook. Who was it?
We've got security concern within our organisation.
Okay.
Apparently your credentials go off to a third party.
Oh, that's not cool.
So just to let you know, it's been
Definitely something to check out. Yeah. So here's an example of that Outlook one. We can kind of see the calendar, the people, and there's some other features where you can do focus. So instead of looking at all your spam that's just in your inbox, it has this kind of feature of who does it know based on your contacts that you should actually be looking at. So you can look at the normal inbox versus the focused inbox, which is kind of cool. This little quick filter thing as well. Anyway, there's a bunch of features in here that I'm not going to have time to talk about. And then there's Link, which is cool. I know I haven't really talked about Link. I use Link a lot. And when I'm on the go and I want to catch a call, I use Link on my mobile. And it's pretty good. It's better than Link itself.
Is that going to be replaced by Skype?
Yeah, Link is Skype for Business, but yeah, is this the app? Is it going to send me to the other one? I wonder. I guess they haven't updated that app per se yet. But yeah, that's the branding. Whoops. Yeah, so you can see, there you go. So Skype for Business is the new branding for Link. Yeah, Link as a term is going away for sure. And what is this thing called Office Mobile? Office Mobile says, oh, what it is people who look for Office, they needed a way to redirect them back to the apps. So basically, hey, go get Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And as soon as you click on them, those are the apps. So it's basically encouraging you to download them. It takes you right into the App Store. Kind of a funny little app. A workaround, basically. And then you got Yammer. I think depending on what operating system you're using, they're updating that as well. The 001's the old Outlook access into Office 365. But does anybody have any questions? And then we'll just kind of wrap this up. Okay. This is the Intune screen. If you're interested in kind of mobile and cloud and Office 365, or I want to only do this on-prem, there's all that kind of protection. There are a bunch of other things you might be concerned about from a mobile device management perspective. And we talked a little bit about responsive web along the way. Delve is responsive. This is the project I want you guys to be aware of, if you're not. ResponsiveSharePoint.codeplex.com. Responsive frameworks for 2010 and 2013. This is, it's awesome. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Microsoft themselves, Microsoft IT, uses this internally to Microsoft for people who need to get mobile access to SharePoint. It's basically this front end for HTML, JavaScript, CSS. They've done a lot of work on building a framework. If you wanted to make your stuff responsive, it's basically included in here. And they've done it for both Zurb and Twitter Bootstrap. Pretty cool. Microsoft itself, their homepage, their website is responsive. You can hit it from any device, and you don't get the massive scroll bars. That's what you're avoiding here is the pinch and zoom. It actually just looks good. Although if you're on Microsoft's website, navigate to Office. There's a lesson to be learned there. The lesson to be learned is not every single page in your website has to be responsive. That's the lesson learned from Microsoft. In their own example, not every single page on Microsoft.com is responsive. Only certain groups have gotten around to make their stuff responsive. So as an example from a SharePoint perspective, it may be your top level pages on your intranet, your search and search results page, maybe those department level pages and your HR official policies pages, things like that, where you know what needs to look good. Invest a little bit of time on those like dozen or so pages, things that can use the same little template. And don't even worry about all the team sites and stuff. Microsoft will eventually get around to this stuff. I keep expecting them to announce this. Maybe they will at Ignite. Here's an example of a site, the before and after. Before, it was getting 5% mobile. Update the site. The next month, it was getting 20% mobile response. Without announcing it, without telling anybody, people just had a better experience. So they, I don't know if they told their friends or what, but the traffic just increased from a mobile perspective. And actually, this week, speaking about that concept, Google recently updated their SEO. I don't know if you heard about this. Those of you who have .com sites, if it doesn't work very well on mobile, it will hurt your SEO for people who are browsing to it from mobile. It's going to give priority to sites that are enabled for mobile. So if your site is responsive, you're going to get higher boost ratings for mobile devices. That happened like 2 days ago. What about SharePoint 2016? You may have seen this on the recent blog, and this is where I'm going to end. Mobile experiences 2016. So it is there is more coming for those who are saying, well, is it going to get better? Yeah, it's going to get better. I'll wait for those who are taking photos. This is on the officeblog.com, office.blog.com. Takeaways. You have to have a mobile device management strategy. Hopefully that's definitely a key takeaway from here. Office 365 is now shipping that mobile device management. You saw those checkboxes in the video. Those will be coming to your tenant soon. I haven't seen them in my trial tenant that I just installed. That should be brand new. So it's going to take a little while to roll out. You want to do on-prem and hybrid, that's Intune. If you need things like encryption or synchronization, forms, geofencing, additional workflows from a mobile perspective, all that stuff's third party. And the future looks like that, yes. So let's connect. And thanks a lot for everybody for coming. I really appreciate you being here. Great to be here. Thanks.